Hi everyone, this is Hannah bringing you this week's tech tip from Strucsoft Solutions Great Tech Group. Today I would like to talk to you about two commands in MWF. I'm in the wall module, and the commands that we're going to talk about, or the tools, are the member positioning and the panel positioning tools. So here I've created a file that consists of three types of walls. This is one type. This is another type where it has a door opening. And this one here is another type where it has a window opening. What I'm going to talk about today is two things. In the case where we would like to give, first of all, members in the panel an identical name. So this is the first tool. And the second tool is when we want to give the panels in your project identical names. So let's say these three panels look the same. We would like to have these three panels have the same ID just to make life easier in your project. There's a tool for this. And the first tool will enable you to give an ID to panel members that are also looking the same. So before we start, I just want to highlight a few things. So here we have a panel called panel 7. If I click over here and go to the properties menu and scroll all the way down, you'll notice here where it says BIMSF container, this is called panel 7. There it is. What I'm selecting right now is an SV, and the BIMSF label is S1. If I click on this one, it's called S2. This one is S3, and etc. Let's say we would like to have members in your panel have identical names for anything that is looking similar. There's a tool for this. This tool is right over here. I just want to point out that I'm in the wall module. And over here, where there's wall manufacture, we have the output menu. In this menu, there's a tool called member positioning. I'm just going to hover over it so that we can read what it says. So this tool will stamp framing members according to user-defined criteria. It will reveal the member positioning interface, so we're going to see that interface in a little bit. And you can select fields for comparison, and naming conventions can be created. So how do you want to compare them? You can decide. This will stamp all members in the project or only selected members, so you can make a selection. If you don't make a selection, this is going to run for your whole project. Then you'll be applying a position name. There will be a position ID and a position name. These are project parameters and can be found in the framing members under identity data. We will take a look at that in a little bit. I'm not going to make a selection. I'm going to run this for my whole project, so I'm just going to go ahead and click on the tool. I just got this on my other window, and you're going to get this dialog box. It just says that any change to wall or floor panels with identical positioning will cause any MWF drawing to be deleted. So it's recommended to run this tool after positioning, to run the shop drawing tool after positioning has been finalized. I'm just going to click on OK. Then you'll receive this other dialog box over here. So over here, panel type, you can run this for walls or for floors. Right now, I'm just going to focus on walls, so I'm going to untick this option. You can use the default, but you can also create your own and use it later. So I'm just going to call this T for Tech Tip Member Positioning. I'm just going to click on OK. Here are the available comparers. I'm going to use family type, member length, so it will be comparing member types and member lengths. I will also add member level. Over here, the minimum number of digits, I'm going to make this 2 and not to have the number too long. The position name template, right now it's going to use position number. I can add to this. I can add the family type if I like. I can also add member length. And I can also add level-wise number or member level, but I'm just going to stop here because I don't want the name to be too long. So here then you would click on rerun or run for the first time, and you want to make sure that you have this tick because you do want to stamp objects. So I'm just going to click, and then the tool is going to run. and I'm going to click on Show Table. And this is the naming that we have just created. You'll notice over here that there's a count, so it's telling you how many members exist with this name in your project. So because we've noticed that the naming is very long, we can actually fix this. So I'm just going to minimize the name a little bit. I'm going to call it P number, and I'm going to remove the family type. I'm just going to add a dash, and I'm just going to need to rerun again. It's going to ask you, this will erase existing positioning. That's okay. So I'm going to click yes, and it's going to run again. And I want to see the table. And I think this is much easier to work with. So this is okay with me. So I'm going to close this. I'm going to click on save. And I just want to see what happened. So over here, let's go back to panel 7. Let's select one member. We'll notice that this is still panel 7, SV, and S1. However, now this member has another name, and here under position ID, there's TMP2. This is the naming convention that we used, and a position name is also a naming convention that we use. So if I select this one, and this one, and this one, in the same panel, they have the same position ID and the same name. If I select this one over here, this one over here, this one over here, they have the same position ID and position name as well, but they're from a different panel. So it's still panel 4 and it's still SVS4. If I select this one over here, this has another position ID and another position name. And if I select this one, it's the same one. This one's going to look the same because it's the same length, but this one is going to look different than this one because there's an opening right here. The next tool is going to be panel positioning. Position the panels based on identical instances found within the project. So this is going to be related to the panel, not the members. Once the member positioning has been run, so just remember that you do have to run the member positioning tool before you run panel positioning. So after member positioning has been run, you can run this command. So this will find identical panels within your project and will give them a position number. All panels will retain the original unique panel number, but will have a second number that can be shared with any number of identical panels. You can switch between the two names. So you can switch between the panel position number and the original number, or you could see both at the same time. We will look at that in a second. But let's run the tool. And we're going to get the same dialog box we got before with the warning. That is okay. It's just saying that it's recommended to run the drawings after this positioning has been finalized. I'm just going to click on OK, and you will get this dialog box over here. I'm going to just untick floors because I'm focusing on walls, and we can give this a name. I'm going to call it Tech Tip PP for panel positioning. And we're going to use these as a comparer. So we're going to move them from over here to over here. So first we have the panel host. I'm going to add members, and I'm going to compare them with regards to openings and panel dimensions. The number of digits, I would like to make this 2. And you can insert another group number, but I'm just going to keep the number simple. I'm actually going to call this P and number. And I'm going to make sure that I stamp objects and run for the first time. Let's show table. And this is the names that have been created. You'll notice for P1, there's 3 of them. P2, there's 3 of them. And P3, there's 3 of them. And this is okay. And I'm just going to click on save. So we don't see the result yet. The way that we can actually see this is actually not from here. So this is still called panel 7. But what we can do is we can go to settings, and where it says project panel names, if you click here, the display panel name right now is normal. You can show normal with positioning or positioning only. I'm going to pick normal with positioning just so that we can compare, and I'm going to click on OK. So over here, panel 7 is still panel 7, but it's also called PO3. It's the same for this. So this is PO3, although this is panel 4. And this is panel 3, but it's also PO3. So in this project, these are called PO2 and these are called PO1. And just a reminder that you do keep the original naming, but we have just added another naming for similar instances. This concludes this week's tech tip. I hope you found it useful, and we will see you next week.